All right, I think we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the slightly delayed Awesemo.com live before lock show, where poor Jake has to deal with his camera not working and tech issues on the fly, but we persevere. I'm Chris Spags, joined by both the camera and baseball savant, Mr. Jake Hari. How's it going, Jake?
Oh, it's going well. Little hiccup to start the show, but we are ready to talk some baseball. Huge slate, so yeah, let's get right into it. Let's make some money.
Yeah, we got 15 games today. Every single team in the MLB is active because you got to get these games in before the All-Star break. I guess let's just get into it because we are late, as the chat so lovingly reminds us with caps locks and exclamation points. Always so considerate as always. Thank you. Let's talk about, I guess, pitchers up front, just because there's so many of them. Which pitchers do you feel like you're going to the most so far?
Yeah, I can actually pull it up. I'll pull up my exposures here. So, so Bauer's my number one. Are you frozen? No, you're good. You're good. Bauer's number one, and then I've got Teheran, Tanaka. He's got an 80 pitch limit. So you can read about those three in my article from this morning. I've got some Covey, Pablo Lopez. I mean, it's not pretty once you get past Bauer and Teheran for me. So just like a smattering of other lower price guys after that.
So no Verlander for you?
I have some Verlander, but a lot more Bauer.
Is there a reason why?
Well, I just think Bauer's one of the best pitchers in the MLB right now. I know it's not a great matchup for either of them, but Bauer's just showing this crazy strikeout stuff where I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Even in a not-so-great strikeout matchup, he's gone deep, like 7-8 innings through this crazy stretch he's been on. So I'm not worried about him. You know, if he has to give up a strikeout or two, if he gets an extra inning out of it, that would be more than okay with me. So, and he's going to be lower owned, too.
Okay, that's fair. I think I like Verlander more than Bauer personally, but I could see that logic there. And obviously the ownership fade. I think Verlander we have projected as the second highest owned pitcher right now, so it certainly makes. Or actually, no, he's bumped up now. Now we would be the most owned pitcher, so there is certainly some logic in trying to go Bauer's way or Tanaka. Let's talk about Tanaka real fast because I got to be honest, I'm real worried about Tanaka's pitch count. In part because I just lived through this last night with Chris Archer. I sent Josh and Jake a couple chats last night because I was in first place in the $6, like third place rather, in the $6 DraftKings tournament. It turned out, Jake, if I had went with Kyle Hendricks instead of Chris Archer, I would have won first place by 5 points. So not the best feeling to go with another guy with a deflated pitch count. Are you confident enough in Tanaka to stake potential first place finishes on it?
Wait, you're telling me you would have won what tournament?
I would have won the $6 for 50 grand on DK if I had started Hendricks over Archer. I had a better lineup than the guy in first place, except for that one play. It was like a 25-point difference or whatever, 27-point difference. Were
you considering Hendricks?
I actually had him in a couple other lineups, but I had more Archer. I thought Archer looked good enough to go with, but that was just one spot where I did not pivot down or try to hedge.
That's disgusting.
No, I know. So now I'm extra worried about Tanaka because I am also riding hard with Tanaka tonight. And I don't know, does Archer, he's a little more efficient than Archer, obviously. Tanaka, I think, is a better pitcher. He misses bats better, all that stuff. Yeah. But limited pitch counts are scary, and they can definitely go the wrong way when your pitcher gets 3 innings and sucks.
Yeah, I don't know why he would be limited to 80 pitches. I don't know if that's a soft count or whatever. I was thinking more like around 90 because he threw 69 pitches in his rehab start. Got through 5 innings. Like, his arm should be fine. I don't know. Like, he should be able to go to around 90, I think, regardless of his pitch count. But if that's going to scare people off, then I'll take the strikeout upside with him. And it's not going to take that much to get over the field now, probably with that news. So there's just so many strikeouts in this Orioles lineup, and there's not many pitchers I feel good about. And I know Tanaka is a good pitcher. I know he has big strikeout upside in this matchup. Even if he, he goes 5 innings instead of 6. But if he gets me 7 or 8 strikeouts, which he certainly could do, then I'm fine with that.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. And I think there's enough reasons to point to Tanaka as being a better play. But I feel like I'd have to be the cautionary tale when we do have another pitch count pitcher who looks great. There is a degree of risk there because all it takes is a couple of guys extending the at-bats. I don't know if the Orioles have those guys quite as much as the I guess the Tigers did last night. I mean, that's not another non-impressive lineup, but just something to be wary of if you are playing Tanaka as much as Jake and I both are. Any pitchers you feel like are sort of undervalued today? You mentioned that you have Covey in a couple lineups. He obviously, I would say, grades out pretty poorly by most metrics, but in a world of variance, he can't get strikeouts and stuff, especially against the Cardinals, who are going to be very chalky. Who else do you feel like kind of fits that criteria?
Lopez, I mean, I'm somewhat impressed with what he's done so far, even though he hasn't had great results. Just a very strikeout-heavy Brewers lineup, also a lot of power. So not an easy matchup by any means, but he's kind of the chalky option, like in the low tier. So I've kind of backed off him a little bit. Leak, I think, is okay. Like there's no one I feel good about. So if you're asking me if I feel good about someone in this range, I don't. I think.
So tell me why you said Leak, because actually he's a guy who jumped out to me, in part because I added a couple stats that I feel like you've talked about. His last 14 days, his swinging strike rate and his chase rate have taken gigantic jumps in a way which indicate to me that maybe he might have more upside today than he seems.
Okay, there we go. It's just all these righties thing, and he's been pretty good against righties this year, surprisingly. His chase rate is really, really good, and I'm just looking for anything to play a guy for 6K tonight, and I know he has had good starts. He's gone deep in a lot of starts, and that's attractive on this slate, even though I don't think he has a lot of strikeouts in him, especially against this lineup. I think that he's at least worth it for 5,900.
Okay. Yeah, that was what graded out to me. So, like, from what I could tell, his swinging strike rate over the past couple of years has been about 8.3. In his last 2 weeks, he's been getting about 14.2% swinging strikes. So getting some good movement. His xFIP has also gone down a little bit. I don't know if we're trying to find guys, and again, like we've talked about a lot of times on these live streams, if you're trying to pan for gold, I do think Mike Leake is a guy who, like Jake mentioned, has some upside, and I've been encouraged by some of his recent performance stats. Let's talk more about Pablo Lopez, because I feel like he also fits that criteria. He's gotten more chalky as the day has gone on, according to our ownership projections, which you can get if you're a premium member of Awesemo.com. What jumps out about Pablo Lopez besides, I guess, the Brewers striking out a fair amount?
Yeah, it's mostly the matchup and then his price and the fact that he's at home. Brewers have just been striking out a ton against righties lately, and Lopez in that first start, I know he had a pretty solid swinging strike rate. I don't know about the second one. I mean, he just looks like an okay pitcher, and for 5,700 in a big park where I think he can get some strikeouts, he's just valuable on this slate because there's not a lot of options to feel good about, especially not in the lower mid-tier and the low tier.
Okay. Yep, I'm on board with that. And also one thing with Lopez, he's been getting a lot of people to chase, 43% in his few starts so far. Again, that's a Jake stat that I added to my sheet recently too. I felt like you always mention it, and I'm always curious, and now I got chase rate too. Just trying to be like you. Trying to be like the baseball savant. That's all we should aim for every single day. I guess before we go on to stacks, let's talk about a couple more pitchers. We have Aniel De Los Santos, who has been asked a lot about by chat, more of a prospect than Drew Gagnon, who's going on the other side. Both only minor league pitchers, so no major league numbers to cite, at least that I'm aware of. How do you feel about De Los Santos and, I guess, Gagnon?
He's not a guy I looked into very deep, but from what I looked into, he's not a guy that's going to miss a lot of bats. Righty pitcher, I think he's going to have some issues with lefties, and I really respect Nimmo and Asdrubal Cabrera. Now, the rest of the lineup isn't that great, but Jose Bautista's actually been hitting a ton better this year, striking out more, but it's just a price thing for De Los Santos making his debut. I don't know, there's a lot of holes I can poke in him, and I'd rather play a guy like Teheran at that same price.
I agree with that too. I don't mind De Los Santos, and I have a couple of him. I think a new pitcher who they haven't, Mets obviously have not seen before, there may be some upside. I do think, though, there are a couple of bats there. Jose Bautista's been hitting better. Nimmo still obviously grades out very well versus righties. I think the minor league numbers for De Los Santos were a little better from what I recall looking up. Gagnon's weren't terrible, though, and I feel like the Phillies stack is one that we had being moderately highly owned. I don't think that Gagnon's a guy to attack either, but how do you feel about the Phillies?
Yeah, Gagnon, I looked into him too. Like, I almost wanted to play him just because he was the one out of these two that missed a ton of bats in some of his minor league starts. So yeah, I'm sure you saw that same thing. And if you're gonna do that, and I wish he was like min priced on DK, then I would have a ton of interest. But you obviously can't play him. I think he's decent enough where I'm not heavy on the Phillies. I wouldn't blame anyone if they wanted to go with the Phillies. You never know with these guys in the debuts. So it's good hitting weather and all that. I have just a minor amount of Phillies, and I wish I could play Magnan. Or Gagnon, not Daniel Magnan. Gagnon?
I feel like it's French. I feel like it's like Gagnon or something.
Gagnon? Gagnon. All right, I like that.
I think so. I don't know. Unclear, but that's my thought. Let's talk about stacks a little. Actually, one last thing. Johnny Cueto is out today. He's being replaced by Derek Holland. Any interest in Derek Holland? I know we both love him so much. He's such a great pitcher.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal pitcher. He's actually missed quite a bit of bats. Like in June, he did, and so I don't think he's the craziest play in the world. Like, there are a lot of good righties, or a few good righties. I think David Bodie is pretty good, at least so far. Addison Russell's a fine hitter. Wilson Contreras is a good hitter. Javi Baez has been playing out of his mind. Almora is not a guy that's going to strike out a bunch. So if there are more lefties in this lineup, I think I would have a lot of interest in Holland, but I don't think I'm going to get too much of him, and I don't have much of him right now.
Okay, let's talk stacks, because obviously we need to get through all of those as well. You talked about Dylan Covey, but a lot of people are projecting the Cardinal stack to be one of the more popular ones. Our ownership numbers aren't really backing that out, at least yet, but it does jump off the page as an opportunity to go against Covey. Pretty decent team total. How do you feel about the Cardinals potentially being a chalky stack tonight?
Yeah, I don't like them as much against righties as I do against lefties. That's pretty obvious. I mean, lots of right-handed bats in this lineup. I think they're going to be over-owned. So I took a stand on them. I don't have, on my DK teams, I don't have, let me make sure I'm saying this correctly. So I don't have any main Cardinal stacks. So no 5-man, and probably no 4-man stacks either. So I'm using them more as fillers. Carpenter and Fowler especially, but I'm not super high in the Cardinals.
I like the Cardinals. I do worry a little bit that Covey seems due for some positive regression just because he's been so bad lately. I mean, he jumps off the page for his last couple weeks. His whip has been 2.83, which is the worst out of everybody in the last couple weeks. But he still gives up a ton of hard contact. I don't know that there is much for him to progress to. I see what you're saying with the Cardinals. They do strike out a little bit above league average. They are not as good as versus a lefty. I don't know. I still feel okay enough with them. Who else do you feel like stack-wise is going to be chalky, but you're comfortable fading or at least limiting exposure to?
Limiting exposure to. Well, I'm not comfortable with it, but the Red Sox, I'm going to be under the field. I just don't think there's that many, I don't think there's that much difference between the first 5 or 6 stacks in terms of run total. So if the Red Sox and the Rockies and the Cardinals are going to be super highly owned, then I'm going to go with the Twins and the Yankees and the Indians, Astros I like a lot. So I'm not necessarily fading the Rockies entirely or fading the Red Sox entirely, but I'm just using them as fillers rather than main stacks.
Okay. The Red Sox, I think, so the team total, somebody mentioning in the chat, is the 6.8 run total, the highest you've ever seen. I feel like there was maybe one other Coors one, which was higher this year.
Yeah, there's been Coors totals in the 7s, I'm pretty sure, this year.
Yeah, but. So I think it is still very high, though. I don't know that I think Gaillard, to be clear, I don't think he is a great pitcher. I don't think he's as bad as this total seems like it should be, like, or that seems like it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's good hitting weather. Gallardo is not a good pitcher, but it's not like he's just gonna give up like 6 dongs here. I mean, there's a reason he's been around for a while. He's not the worst pitcher in the world. He's not what I thought Alex Cobb was earlier in the season, where I'm just auto stacking against him no matter what. That being said, I think the Red Sox top 6 are awesome plays, and I'll have some exposure to all of them, but if everyone's going to use a 5-man stack, I'll get my exposure going with one-offs or a mini stack and hope to get those 1 or 2 guys that do a lot of the damage.
Makes sense. Who else are you targeting tonight for, I guess, your main stacks, your big stacks?
Sure. Let me pull that up right now. All right, so I mentioned Houston against Manaea, just way too much hard contact against righties. I think Manaea is a little bit overrated as a pitcher, at least over the last month and a half, really since that no-hitter. The Nationals I have against Musgrove, but I also have some Musgrove exposure just because I needed to get off of some Tehran. The Twins I love. I think they're probably my favorite stack tonight against Ian Kennedy. Lots of lefties in that lineup, and specifically Rosario, Escobar, and Morrison. I love them all. So, but I'm going down to like Kepler and Polanco and even Jake Cave. I've got well over the field on him. Indians, Dodgers. I mean, there are a lot of spots today. I didn't even mention the Yankees, and I think they're a great stack as well.
Yeah, the Yankees, obviously another high team total team, and as we've mentioned a couple times in the live streams, tend to get overlooked when we have these gigantic slates, even though they are one of the most consistent fantasy plays every single night. So yeah, I'm with you on that. People asking about the Pittsburgh stack. Obviously, last night we talked about early in the show, a very good stack to have. That was one that I was very pleased with. Usually pretty low owned as well. How do you feel about Pittsburgh going against the? I guess I don't even know where they have. Everything's running slow for me. But how do you feel about Pittsburgh going against whoever they're going?
Hellickson, yeah, Hellickson and the Nats. I got you. So yeah, I mean, go back to these Pittsburgh lefties. They're hitting righties hard lately. Moran, Dickerson, Polanco, Josh Bell. Like, you can use. Oh wait, Cervelli's not in the lineup. I did see that. So Diaz I like more against lefties, but I think he's usable for 3,300. They're just cheap, and if you're paying up for a Bauer or Verlander, you kind of have to get a cheap stack or at least a cheap mini, and they've got guys in good spots, and I don't mind the full stack either. No one's going to be on it.
Let's see, what else? What stack do you feel like is currently shaping up to be chalky or at least have some ownership that you're completely avoiding?
Completely avoiding? The Cardinals, actually. So I said I didn't have any main stacks on my DK teams. I don't have any Cardinals stacks, actually. So, yeah. That's sort of my stand. I think they're going to be over-owned, and well over-owned. So, like, again, I'll have some Carpenter. I'm sure Jose Martinez is in some of my lineups and stuff, but I will not have full stacks or even, like, 3-man stacks of the Cardinals.
Interesting. All right, I do like the Cardinals. I might disagree with you having no Cardinals or at least no stacks of Cardinals, but I think you'd actually stack the bottom half of the order pretty well too. Like, I like Fowler. I think that DeJong, assuming you trust him coming off of the injury, I feel like he looks pretty good. Even Colton Wong, I don't mind. Not a ton of power there, but if you are trying to make a stack, I think there are a couple ways to go there. But hey, if the baseball savant says no Cardinals, then maybe no Cardinals.
I don't know. I mean, if the Cardinals beat me, like, I'm comfortable with that. I think there are just a bunch of other spots, and we have them being one of the highest owned, if not the highest owned team on the slate, and I don't think they deserve to be up there. So that's one of the stands I'm taking. I'm also going lower on the Rockies on DraftKings against Corbin. Not as far as playing Corbin, but just going to be lower than what we have projected for sure.
So yeah, another thing that was something that Osimo mentioned, if you're a premium member, he has his top stack percentage article, which comes out today, and breaks down the chances of each team finishing as the top stack tonight. And he had mentioned that a lot of people are probably gravitating towards Colorado just because they're in Colorado. And Corbin does, I don't know, but he was saying that it might be an opportunity for Corbin. Corbin's been pitching pretty well, missing bats pretty well. I do worry about Corbin because he gets hit hard if he does get hit. I think he's just one of those guys where he's either not touching bats or he's going to get shelled. And I do kind of worry that it's not a great spot for him.
Yeah, but so the slider usually does pretty well in Coors, and that's his put out pitch. So I think he could actually do a good job of getting strikeouts if he's getting ahead of guys. I think if Corbin was 7,500 or something, I would consider playing him. But 10-4, he's priced like he's at home, and I don't want any part of that, especially against a team with some good righties and a lot of righty power.
Okay, that's fair. Who do you feel like is the best pitcher under 7K right now?
Oh man, under 7K. That's such a bad range. Under Teheran, I hate everyone. Dude, I mean, do you have an idea? I mean, I guess it would be Leak. Leak is the guy I have the most exposure to.
It's probably Leak for me. It's not somebody who I feel great about, but it is probably Leak for me. I don't mind Pablo Lopez either, but I think those are the two I would go with. I tried to talk myself into Velasquez, but I don't see the pitch count being there, even against Texas.
Yeah. No, he's not going to go very long. So I would do not play Velasquez, in my opinion.
Oh, the Chubster, Mr. Josh Engelman, who has been on a home run picking tear lately that has been very emotionally and physically distressing for me, is in the chat. So I guess that means it's time that we should make our home run picks. Jake, do you have anybody who comes to mind for you?
Edward Rosario.
Oh,
I picked him earlier on the show, on the strategy video. So I'm sticking with that. I feel really good about it too.
I'm going to take Matt Carpenter. I'm not going to get too fancy here. Going against Covey, I just feel like I've tried to talk myself into Covey. I have a couple lineups with Covey. I still think you got to go against Covey, and Carpenter will be the guy I'll go with.
Sure.
Chubster, who is picking his stupid home runs at a high pick, he wants to drop his in the chat. He is more than welcome to do so. But if Josh picks a home run pick, take it to the bank. You just can't beat that guy. He's right every single day. It's crazy. I don't think he'll ever be wrong again.
Neither do I. Yeah,
I'm
absolute
trying to
lock.
jinx.
Yeah.
I hope that was effective enough. We'll find out. How do you feel about Arizona? We didn't talk about them, but they're also in Colorado. Paulie asking Ahmed or Bogarts. Obviously, there are a couple of guys in Arizona who can bomb. Tyler Anderson, pretty good at limiting hard contact, but does get hit hard occasionally. How do you feel about Arizona and I guess Ahmed in specifics?
Ahmed? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I like Ahmed anytime he's against a lefty. So here's the thing. Anderson, I really, really love as a pitcher, and we've been on him as a site. I know a lot of other people have been on him, so it's not like I'm trying to brag or anything, but I think he is a very good pitcher. However, he's in Coors, and there's some serious power on this Diamondbacks team. I don't like that they didn't put in J.R. Murphy, so it's a little bit of an upgrade to Anderson if you're considering playing him. I think it's a okay play for 8,200 just because there's, like I've said numerous times, there's not a lot to like today for pitching. But I'm overweight on Arizona because I think they're going to be under-owned relative to all these other stacks. They're in the best hitting environment. It's 100 degrees, wind blowing out to left. So that's obviously very good for righties that pull the ball. And, I mean, I don't know. They're just going to be super low owned compared to some of these top stacks, and I don't think they should be.
The Chubster's home run pick is in, and he is doing his favorite thing to do, which is picking a guy on one of the teams that we selected, and he is going with Ryan Dozier just to spite you, Jake, and hurt you. So that's I appreciate you not attacking me today and not going after Matt Carpenter. That's nice. Very nice of the Chubster.
The Rosario triple dong is going to be epic.
with Dozier never on base even once.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
Dozier's been awful this year, so if Josh picks this one, then We might need to report him to the government, see if he knows some insider info.
He's indulging in wizardry, perhaps.
Yeah.
If he does this again. Best catcher on DK under 3,600 for Zach Carpenter. I'm only picking you, Zach, because you share a last name with my boy Matt Carpenter, who hit a home run for me tonight.
Say that again. Under what?
Under 3K for DK catcher.
Under 3K DK catcher. Do you have someone that you can think of off the top of your head? I like Roberto Perez in that Cleveland stack. Navarez, I like him. And I don't know, is Masahiro under 3K? No, he's 32 under. He's 32. Yeah. What about...
I would say Stassi. I don't mind going versus Minaya. I don't really like Minaya versus righties.
Well, you said... Wait. Did you say 32?
36.
Oh, 36. Oh,
yeah.
All right. Yeah, Masahiro. Wilson Ramos, I think, is 37, right? He's 43. Man, I can't remember prices to save my life. I just let the optimizer do its trick. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, catcher's all over the place for me.
I think Stassi, Masahiro, maybe Kratz. That's. I think I have one lineup with Mathis, so I'll throw him in there too. But I think that's about as. The rest of the guys not that great. I guess out of all of them, probably Gaddis for me overall. Let's see. You get credit for your 2 dongs if your pick hits 2. You sort of do, and if you do, I'm still tied with Josh. If you don't, I am. Josh is ahead of me now. So I don't know. I would say probably not. We note it on the record. We do note it, but it's not something that we count. It's hard. It's not fair to predict that. Home run start up. Lopez or Lauer? Which of those would you go with if you were making a pitcher choice?
Lopez. Yeah, Lopez.
I would also probably go Lopez, and I could see the logic for going Lauer, given that the. Oh, good. If it's a tiebreaker, then wait. Oh, it's a tie. Oh, never mind. So I'm still behind one. Fucking horseshit. Well, Matt Carpenter, it's all up to you tonight. I can see going Lauer, given the strikeouts on the Dodgers side, but I think Lopez is a little more interesting to me. I don't know. The fact he's chalky though worries me a little bit, but still Lopez. Barnes or Forsythe, if you are picking Dodgers, which would you pick?
I would go Barnes there, but those aren't either of those aren't great options. I liked Barnes a lot last year against lefties, but this year he hasn't been quite the same.
Yeah, I'm also not crazy about the Dodgers tonight. As a Dodgers lover, I'm skipping out tonight. They didn't come through for me yesterday. I feel like I'm gonna let them rest while they're at Petco. I think it's a pitcher's park.
Right.
Dodgers. I like to play more at home personally. Let's see. What stacks do you feel like nobody has talked about at all that might be interesting? I'll throw one out up front. White Sox going against Mikolas or Nicholas, depending upon how you want to say it. I prefer, as we've discussed, the last king of Scotland pronunciation. Mikolas been terrible his last couple outings and not missing bats at all. The White Sox can do damage if they go against the pitcher who doesn't have his stuff. I don't think Miles Mikolas has his stuff right now. So I kind of like the White Sox stack a fair amount.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I like Moncada and Polka a ton. So if you want to throw in Abreu or Davidson or Sanchez even, I think that's perfectly fine. I'm cool with that. As far as stacks that no one's talking about, so the White Sox would definitely be one of those. And then I like the Mets a little bit against De Los Santos and the Braves against Stroman.
Interesting. The Braves I didn't get to at all today. I am with you on the Mets, though. I think the Mets look interesting to me going against a righty pitcher who maybe is going to have a little bit of a learning curve. So I'm with you on that. I don't know who else is there. Oh, also, Quintana's been pretty bad lately. I feel like that's worth noting. I don't know that I still am crazy about the Giants, given that they're at their park and not a great hitting park. But Quintana's really taken a downslide, I feel like, his last couple outings. After having a few strong ones that I feel like made him very chalky. He's been pretty bad, like pretty noticeably bad.
I think he's been bad. He's been overrated for a while, I'll say that, especially against right-handed hitters. I've been targeting righties against him for months, it seems like.
Yeah, his righty performance is much worse. His last 14 days, he's just not been getting strikeouts, not been getting people to chase, giving up a fair amount of hard contact. His whip has gone up, his xFIP has gone down. So there's a lot of not great indicators for Quintana. If you're looking for another stack that is, or maybe a couple one-offs who will be on a very cheap team. Sleeper stack for the Chubster is the Blue Jays going against Tehran. How confident do you feel in Tehran now that the Chubster, our home run savant, not a baseball savant, just a home run savant, is picking the Blue Jays as a sneaky stack?
I mean, I think the Blue Jays are pretty sneaky. It's a sneaky leverage play, so I don't hate it. I wish they had more lefties in it. So the top 3 are lefties, and then the last 6 are all righties, including Stroman, the pitcher. So that's why I love Tehran, because he's so much better against righties. If he can somehow navigate the top 3, then I think he could be on his way to a big, big day. And he's already had 2 10-strikeout games over his last 4. I'm not saying he's going to do that again. I mean, I would take 7 or 8 and 5 or 6 innings. That would be perfect. And that's what I'm hoping for out of Tehran. But I get the stack. He's the perfect guy to stack against, especially if you just want to go 1, 2, 3. Take all those lefties. I'm sure one of them will probably hit a dong off of him.
Yeah, I agree with you there, too. I think that there's some dangerous power on Toronto's side, but they do strike out a fair amount versus a righty. Granderson obviously has a ton of power, but strikes out 24.4% of the time. Smoke strikes out 23.4%. Then you have, obviously, like Jake mentioned, all the righties strike out a fair amount as well. I think there are variance play. I could see that. I wouldn't stack more than the top 3, though, but I'm more on the Tehran side. I don't have any Toronto tonight. Is lulling it up crazy to like the Royals tonight?
Josh likes the Royals, but yeah, I don't think Sleers is good. The Royals haven't been talked about at all, so I don't think Sleers is anything special. I like Moustakas, I like Duda and Salvador Perez. I like 3, 4, 5. In other words, so I don't know. I didn't end up with a bunch of Royals, but if you like them, like, it's not going to take much to be overweight, so that's attractive.
Yeah, they're not the best to me, and I think I like Sleegers a little more than I dislike him. I didn't play him a ton today, but in general, I just feel like he kind of limits damage pretty well, in at least in the limited sample size that he has. So I didn't feel like that, and I also just in general hate Kansas City, but I can see where you're going with there. As a full stack, though, I just feel like I've never seen a Kansas City full stack be anything that impressive, at least like recently.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, you got to look past the numbers for them against righties this year because they've been disgustingly bad. And I don't know, no one's talking about Sleegers either. So, whatever.
Why no talk of the Atlanta lefties? What
I just mentioned them.
Yeah, I did feel like you mentioned that, and also like it's still not a fantastic stack. Like Stroman's not that much worse versus lefties than he is righties. It's like pretty comparable.
Yeah, I mean, it's deep, but it seems like that always happens on one of these 15 gamers where you get a 2% stack that goes nuts.
Yeah, wait, what? 45.2%? No, Stroman has 34% hard contact versus the lefties and 34.1% versus righties. So at least from what I'm seeing.
What sample are you looking in?
It's 2017 to 2018.
Yeah. So this year he's giving up a lot more to lefties, like over 40.
Interesting. All right. Sure. I guess I try to find a bigger sample size for pitchers. I started tracking just the most recent time frame just to kind of get a little bit of a smaller sample size window. But for Stroman too, versus both handed hitters in the last couple weeks, his whip has been 1.2, hard contact 34.3. So it looks to me like he's right in line with everything he's been doing. But sure, why not? Thoughts on Austin Romine? Feel like not many will go to him. Plus, they have a 6+ run total.
Yeah, I mean, I like Romine. I think he's going to be an underowned part of that Yankee stack. So, I mean, it gets you a catcher position checked off, and that's valuable on a night like tonight. So, I think Romine's actually a pretty improved hitter. So, yeah, I'm with you there.
Let's see. Apparently, Rich Hill has now moved ahead of Justin Verlander on our ownership projections, which, again, you can see all of them if you are a premium member of Awesemo.com. Ownership projections, Awesemo's rankings, Awesemo's top stack percentages, where he breaks down the likelihood of each stack being the top performer tonight, all available for you. So go check that out, or become premium so you can check it out. Who is the Paul Blackburn of the night pick for a pitcher who looks like dog shit but may be in the winning lineup?
Covey. Yeah.
Okay. I like that you went there. I'm actually gonna say Gallardo. And this is like, I'm going real deep here. I feel like his numbers have trended upwards, and I think he's getting so much disrespect where I tend to think that's a spot where it's worth having one or two lineups with a guy. And I think Gallardo fits that criteria for me. Again, not one I'm banking on a lot, and he is technically probably the worst pitcher on the slate by at least a Vegas total perspective, but I would go Gallardo. You guys ever play a player just because they have a cool name? When in doubt, pick the guy with the cooler name. This sounds silly, I do occasionally pick guys who seem like they have good baseball player names just because it feels right.
I do not. I'm trying to make money.
Sometimes it can go hand in hand. Like, I don't know, some guys have good baseball player names. It's all relative.
You're right. But different strokes, I suppose.
Are you fading Rich Hill tonight, or do you have more Hill than the field?
I am fading him. I don't know that I ended up with much at all of him on DK. I can actually check that right now. Yep, I have no Rich Hill on DK, so I guess that's another stand I'm taking. He doesn't grade out for me. He never does grade out for me well, but it seems like he's always in a good spot and always gets a ton of ownership. So I'll take that fade. I don't think he's good enough to be the highest owned pitcher on this slate, and looks like he's going to be. So.
And just to wrap it all up, the Chubsters pick for the Paul Blackburn of the night is for a pitcher who is dog shit but maybe in a winning lineup. It's Derek Holland for him. So there we go. You now have three shitty pitchers who are actually okay. So this is actually one spot Brandon T points out where the cool sounding name thing might not. I don't know if Aniel De Los Santos is going for a 9-inning shutout with 15 Ks. I think you're exaggerating for humor, but that's a bit of a stretch, I think, even by no matter how cool his name is, though that is a pretty cool name. I will give it.
I actually don't think Holland is that bad of a play. I'll say that. So.
Interesting. Okay.
But he's 7,400. I mean, he's not Paul Blackburn price.
True.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, of course the Chubster tries to take a fucking cheap route, as he does. Hill has a great PVB, not a thing to look at. I mean, I think if you're picking Hill, and I have a fair amount of Hill, I think you're rostering him because the Padres strike out a lot. But they're not particularly great. I have like maybe one or two Padres hedge stacks, but I think Hill's fine. I don't know. Everybody hates Hill. I feel like he's really done some terrible things to everybody who played DFS before this year because everyone just hates Rich Hill.
Maybe there's. Do you like? Oh, someone's asking, do I like Inciarte for stolen bases? Yeah, I think it's a fine stolen base matchup against Stroman. Stroman's about average over the last couple of years, so yeah, no issues, like no red flags for Inciarte's stolen base matchup.
Jake looked earlier and can't remember. Do you like? Yeah, never mind. If you were doing a single entry, what stack would you look at first for DK?
I mean, I love the Twins, so I would be on the Twins. But then I would be looking to get different with. I don't even know who. I mean, the Diamondbacks are going to be different, but they're in Coors. Like anytime you can get a low-owned Coors team, that's pretty appealing. I think the Indians are going to be lower owned than they should be. So.
I would. I mean, for me, I think it's still the Cardinals. I think they're the best stack to build around, and then if you're going for smaller stacks, then try to get a little less chalky. But I just think going against Covey is still the right move, even though, there is still a chance if they get too chalky that they just blow up and they're terrible. But still worth the risk to me. Covey looks that bad. Top play at catcher 3,000 or below. Get more money, Paulie. We're not doing that one. Escobar, Nick Ahmed. Who would you pick for a shortstop play?
To answer that other guy's question, Roberto Perez, Escobar, who? Polanco?
And Nick Ahmed. Who would you pick?
Um, that's close, man. I would. I'd probably go Ahmed.
I would actually go Escobar. Even though,
Wait, Escobar or Polanco?
It's Escobar or Nick Ahmed at shortstop.
Oh, I thought it was Polanco. Okay, I was thinking of other Twins shortstop. Then it's Escobar, yeah.
Yeah, and for me it would be Escobar. Nick Ahmed, not a bad play. Should we be concerned about ownership in a single entry? I would say yes.
Yeah. The chalk is going to be even chalkier on the single entry because people, it's a single entry, so they think just play chalk or just play the best players or whatever, but you still need to be different in a single entry.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think if there's good chalk, it's not the worst thing to go with. Like, if you really believe the Red Sox are there, but on a slate this big, I would say you should probably be more aware of it and try to get off of it, I would presume. Not sure if we talked about this, but what do you prefer out of Verlander and Bauer? Only a $200 difference on FanDuel, and Brandon T has him projected at pretty much the same amount of points. We can talk about it one more time. We got 8 minutes to lock, so if you're making your Verlander-Bauer choice, make the case for Bauer, Jake.
Yeah, he's just been incredible, and not that Verlander hasn't been, but not as good as Bauer. So I think only 2 pitchers have really been as good as him over the last couple months. Scherzer and Sale. Swinging strike rate out of control. He's getting chases. He's doing all that. He's at home here. Should have some run support. Maybe we'll be able to throw some low stress innings, which we love. And I think he can go pretty deep, even though this Reds lineup isn't. It's not a great matchup for him. A lot of lefties in there, especially at the top. But he's striking out lefties at a 33% clip. It's not like he's struggled against them at all. In fact, he's been just as good against lefties.
So the case for me to go Verlander would be it's a lower Vegas total. I think the Athletics are a slightly worse team than the Reds. I worry a little bit about the lefty bats getting to Bauer. I just feel like Bauer is more prone to getting blown up. For me, it would be Verlander. I think Jake's case for Bauer is totally fine, too. I feel like if you're playing a bunch of lineups, it's probably good to have a mix. But for me, I like Verlander going against Oakland a little more.
That is completely fair.
Let's see. Anyone on Tyler Anderson tonight? I guess, are you actually playing Tyler Anderson, or do you just not mind Tyler Anderson?
I mean, I just don't mind it. I'm not trying to force him in anywhere though. So if I end up with a couple Tyler Anderson shares, I'm not going to be mad about it. But he's not someone that I even have close to double digits of.
Yeah, I feel similarly about that. I like Anderson, but I like him more on a limited slate kind of night. Tonight is. I just don't trust him. He's too variable. Obviously, being in Coors, heavily variable. And I think there's enough bats on the Arizona side that make me feel not great about him. Though he does limit hard contact, and that obviously will pay out in Coors and help out. And he's had a couple of good matchups recently in Coors. So, sure, if you want to play him, sure. Just not a guy I felt like I need to go to. People stack in cash. Yeah, do people stack in cash? I have no fucking clue about cash.
I mean, if I played cash, I certainly wouldn't, but I'm sure people do.
Top outfielder for a DK GPP. It's a little overbroad, but who's your favorite outfielder play out of every outfielder in the world?
Eddie Rosario.
I'm just going to play it straight. I'd go Mike Trout. If we're going to keep it overbroad, you get an overbroad answer. It's probably Mike Trout.
That's a very off-the-grid pick, Chris.
If you give me a very basic question, you get a very basic answer. And that basic answer is Mike Trout's great for a GPP.
That's almost always a good answer for any question baseball-related when asking about
not for real life, fantasy, always Mike Trout.
Yeah, always Trout.
We didn't talk Julius Chassin, but he's got a pretty cake matchup versus Miami tonight. How do you feel about him overall? He's also at an interesting price point if you're trying to pivot off of Rich Hill. How do we feel about Chassin?
Yeah, the problem I have with Chassin is he just doesn't have the strikeout upside that you kind of need for 8,500. And like if I'm going up into this range, it's just so much easier for me to go with Tanaka, or there's a handful. Like I'd rather go down to Musgrove or Tehran. So there's just a lot of pitchers that I like around him, and I don't think he's got much strikeout upside in this matchup at all.
Yeah, I don't mind Chassin tonight, especially as a hill pivot. He's priced though. Like I don't want to pay 8,500 for Chassin in general, or go to my way rather to pay that even against Miami. And I think Miami's feisty enough too, where I'm not trying to necessarily think they're going to roll over. They've been like they always upset pitchers who are like kind of mediocre, and people assume that, oh yeah, they're going to get a ton of strikeouts, and I don't think that's always the case versus the Marlins. It's not as easy of a matchup as it seems.
I would 100% agree with you. Just for full transparency also, so I mentioned I don't have any Rich Hill on DK. I do have some of him on FanDuel because he makes a lot work over there. So just wanted to add that in.
It's fair. Again, I will defend Rich Hill tonight. I still think he's a good play, especially in a pitcher's park versus a shitty team. I think that's a time where even if you don't like Rich Hill, I think he's okay to play.
Yeah.
Though very chalky, so hey, maybe not. Let's see. Angels stack. Is that a sneaky stack? At one point we had Garrett Richards being very highly owned. I think we still have him being the third highest owned pitcher, which seems weird to me and surprising. But maybe I guess people making a hill pivot to Richards. How do you feel about Seattle and Garrett Richards?
Yeah, so Garrett Richards is coming off actually one nice start against Seattle, and now he gets to go back home. He's another one who I'd rather have him over Chassin, and I do have some Garrett Richards, but this is not a time where I'm expecting him to strike out 7 or 8 guys. I just think he can be okay here. And then, so you're targeting a good pitcher's park, which I like as well on this slate with a lot of good hitting weather. Someone was asking about the Angels stack, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's going to be sneaky. I think anything under a 5-run total tonight is sneaky. So there's also like 20 plus sneaky stacks tonight because it's such a big slate. Like you can only have so much ownership.
True. Yeah, I agree. That's when you have every team in MLB playing. That is a result of the thing.
Yeah.
KC stack. We talked about KC before. Josh likes them. We're not crazy about them, so whatever. Well, sorry, man. He's put back. Musgrove or Tehran for a FanDuel lineup?
Tehran.
I'd also go Tehran. Carpenter or Devers? Who would you go with?
Carpenter. Actually, that's not even close. It's Carpenter.
I would also go Carpenter. I don't mind Devers as part of that Boston stack, though. If you're trying to get a little contrarian with it, I would skip maybe move off of Mookie and go down to Devers. Let's see. Thoughts on Mikolas? I think he looks terrible, and I think actually that so terrible, in fact, that I don't mind the White Sox stack a little bit. But Jake, any different thoughts on Mikolas that you want to give good sub DFS?
Yeah, I don't think he's terrible. I think he is shown struggles against lefties, and that's enough for me to want to play some of these White Sox lefties like Moncada and Polka.
Yep. All right. Same thing. Terrible. We agree. I think he's been pretty bad lately, and I think there's an opportunity perhaps for the White Sox. That's how I feel about him. He's an okay play if he works salary-wise. I think but I wouldn't heavy up on Miles Mikolas tonight.
I would agree.
How about Thames as a one-off on FanDuel in particular?
Yeah. I mean, any lefties against Lopez are in play for me. So if they're just asking if I think that's okay, I think that's okay. I mean, all these, so that's what I don't like about, what do you think of so-and-so? Because it's all depending on lineup construction.
It's true. Also, the Nationals-Pirates game apparently delayed. Any weather concerns about that not playing? Probably too late now. But.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I haven't seen anything worrisome about it, so whatever.
And we're locked now, but I guess we'll take a couple in case people can switch their stuff. I don't know. How do you feel about Benintendi and Moreland, or fuck, it just went away. Or Freeman and NCR?
So that depends. Is the rest of your lineup chalky? Because if the rest of your lineup is chalky, then I would go Freeman and Enciarte. Hitters are so volatile. So volatile. Anytime you're going to get chalk on a 15-game slate like you're going to see with the Red Sox, and we might even be able to see it right now. They locked out 7-10. but then I'm almost always, if it's even close, I'm always going with the lower owned. So I would go Freeman and CRT there. Someone asked about the Twins stack. So which Twins would you stack, and would it be more than a 3-man stack? Yes, it would be more than a 3-man stack. I would go in order: Rosario, Escobar, Morrison, then Polanco, Kepler.
Who did Josh pick for his dong? We all made dong picks, Zach Jameson, but somebody gave you the answer, so I'm not going to say it again anyway. No. The picks were Brian Dozier for Josh, Rosario on the Twins for Jake, and I picked Matt Carpenter. So Matt Carpenter is the correct pick, and we'll find that out in a few hours, I'm sure.
I think you could be onto something there with the Carpenter leadoff homer. But then Covey will settle in, and he'll throw 6 strong innings with 6 strikeouts.
Just like stupid Jordan Zimmerman did when Chu hit that home run. Zimmerman really fucking got shook and realized, oh yeah, I didn't play hard, and then he had the best game of his life. So that was fun.
I balled out that night, so I was pretty pumped about the Zimmerman ownership I had.
I wasn't delighted. I had a lot of Rangers that night, and I was like, ugh, this sucks. A victim of my own Chu-based success. If there are any late slate questions, I feel like the late slate might be big tonight because there's so many games. I don't know.
So there's probably a 3-game West Coast slate, right? Mariners, Angels, Dodgers, Padres, Cubs, Giants. Do you have any thought? Like, do you have anything you would feel strongly about there?
I feel like on that slate, you probably have to fade Rich Hill because I would assume Rich Hill is going to be like 1,000% owned on that particular slate. Yeah,
so like I'm just thinking about if I was putting in like 10 entries, I'd probably have like 1-2 Rich Hill on DK. And then the rest would be a mixture between Holland, Leak, Garrett Richards. I like some of these righties against Quintana. I like McCutcheon, Posey, Slater if he's in there, Yorkies. That's a pretty cheap stack you can get to, and you could probably even play those Giants with Rich Hill because I think Quintana would be the 2nd or 3rd highest owned player or pitcher on that slate.
Yeah, I'm with you fully. I like we mentioned before, Quintana I think is very stackable against the Giants lineup. Like Jake mentioned, the righties would all be great matchups versus Quintana, who's been really getting hit hard versus righties. So I think that'd be the move. I would probably, I feel like I would almost definitely play Mike Leake given how much I liked him on the regular slate. Feels silly, but I feel like Leake is a guy I think is a little undervalued. So I'd probably go with him and then, try Hill, try Holland, and see how it goes. Anything else good? How did the Duggar play work out yesterday? I don't think anybody played Duggar. I didn't play
the Duggars.
Yeah, Josh just opined about him possibly being a reality TV star. I don't think there was actually a strong belief in Mr. Duggar, Mr. Steven Duggar.
All right, so with just the 7-10 game lock or 7:05, no one's over 10% in the $4.20 max. So I just loaded that. Tanaka is the closest at 9.06%. So if we wait for another minute or so, we could see what the Red Sox are owned. But
yeah, sure. I got another minute. Posey or Caratini? That's definitely Posey for me.
Oh yeah, that's Posey. That's not even close.
Yeah, Posey could be getting an injection during the game for his injuries, and I'd still go Posey. Really.
Is he even gonna be in the lineup?
He's playing until the All-Star break, and then he's getting his injection, and then he'll be out for the All-Star game.
Smart.
Catcher for a late slate. Who would you go with? I think it's Contreras for me.
Catcher for the late slate. Contreras. Austin Barnes will probably be popular. Nick Hundley, if he's in the lineup against Quintana, he is in the lineup. They just loaded it right now. I love that. No Posey. I love Hundley. So lock that in. He hits lefties incredibly well, and no one's going to play him.
Yep, I agree. I think that actually would make Hundley pretty close to a must-play for me on the late slate. And if you have any Giant stacks, probably good to get him into that now as well for the regular slate.
Yeah.
Stupid West Coast lineups making it very difficult.
Yeah, stupid West Coast.
Hey, look, I enjoy the timing of it all, but I agree that the lineups coming out while we're on the show and afterwards, not the best, not the most helpful.
No, not the most. All right, so just to run through this right now, Benintendi 13%, Brock Holt 12.3, Moreland 10, JD Martinez 18.35, Mookie Betts 15.
So still not terribly high, all things considered.
Man, De Los Santos is 17.9%.
People can't help themselves when there's a new pitcher who is like a touted prospect. He's not even a touted prospect. He's just like a prospect.
Yeah, that one's interesting to me.
Well, watch him have an amazing day.
Yeah, man, if he does, good for him. I will be moving on to the next slate, though, if that's the case.
Chris, do you like hosting with Josh or Jake more? They're different experiences. I feel like Jake and I talk more like actual data. Josh and I bullshit more, so they're different. I feel smarter doing a show with Jake. I feel more entertaining doing a show with Josh.
There you go. Perfect.
And on that note, let's call it a day. Unless you have anything you want to hit before we wrap up.
What time does Osmo post night game rankings? If it's probably in the next hour or so, you'll have ownership projections and rankings, I would guess. And that's something you guys should look at if you live on the West Coast or whatever. You can't play the 7 Eastern slates. Check out the ownership projections and the rankings. We do those for pretty much all slates, and that's unique to just us, as far as I know.
Jason Sullivan doing 150 lineups with Angel De Los Santos. Quite the bold play, and not one that we would advocate for, as Zach Carpenter points out. Don't 150 lineups with one pitcher is not the way to play 150 lineups.
I mean, I don't think so. I can't say I haven't done it before, because I certainly have, but maybe is a little bit reckless, especially I don't know that De Los Santos is that great, but whatever. You know?
Yeah, Jesus. You can say big balls. I think if you have a certain... All right, he has 300. Still 50% De Los Santos is pretty big. But no, it's not the most plus EV approach if you are playing a bunch of lineups. You want to mitigate your risk to some degree and get the other guys in. If you want to own more of De Los Santos, then you go maybe like 30%. If you really want to go whole hog on De Los Santos. But even then, crazy move.
That is crazy. I hope it works out for you.
Yeah, fingers crossed for you, Jason Sullivan. On that note, hopefully you didn't play 150 De Los Santos lineups, but if you did, hey, more power to you. Good. Congrats to being brave and being strong enough to possibly lose a lot of money tonight. Good for you. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure to do that so you'll know whenever we go live, whenever Jake and Josh go live in the morning for the strategy video, Jake's night shift podcast, all the stuff. Football videos coming out, I think, tomorrow, along with my 7,000 word opus about everything offseason you need to know. So go subscribe and check that out when they come out. And Baseball Savant, any final thoughts?
No, guys, good luck. Enjoy the 15 games. Don't sweat too hard until you need to.
Yes. And, yeah, good luck to Jason Sullivan and De Los Santos, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow.